Shiro had never left the hill. He was born there, raised there. And every morning he woke up to the same view: the green field, the wooden fence, the sun rising behind the same line of trees. People in the village called his life peaceful. He called it normal. But sometimes, when the wind blew just right, he could hear something distant, like a flute played far beyond the trees. A sound he had never seen, but somehow recognized. And on those days, the fence around the hill didn't feel like protection. It felt like a question. One evening, Shiro asked his grandfather, "Has anyone ever gone past the trees?" The old man shook his head. "Why would they? Everything we need is here." Shiro nodded, but didn't feel full. That night, lying on his bed with the window open, he heard the flute again, faint but clear. He sat up. It wasn't just music, it was calling. The next morning, he walked toward the fence, not to climb it, just to touch it. The wood was smooth, worn by years of hands pressing against it. Hands just like his. It didn't feel like safety. It felt like waiting. The next day, Shiro followed the edge of the fence, slow, careful, curious. He didn't bring anything. No bag, no food, just questions. He reached the far corner, where the fence met a cluster of tall grass. There, half buried in earth and time, he found something strange. A wooden step, old, weathered, leading downward, not upward. He looked around. No one. The village was quiet. No one ever came this far. He knelt down and brushed away the dirt. Another step, and then another. He wasn't sure where it went, or why it was hidden, but it was there. And it wasn't part of the map he'd been given his whole life. If this light speaks to something inside you, subscribe and ring the bell. Maybe it's time to stop hiding your own. Shiro returned the next morning, earlier than usual. The step was still there, waiting. He stood at the edge for a while, the rising sun behind him, the village asleep. Then, slowly, he stepped down. The wooden steps creaked, but held. With each one, the light above faded, and the air grew colder. But something inside him warmed. At the bottom, he didn't find a secret room, or a treasure, just an open field. Wild, untouched, stretching beyond anything he had ever imagined. No fences, no maps, no walls to tell him this far, no further. Just space, and silence, and the sound of that flute again, clearer now. Shiro walked, not fast, not far, just forward. His feet touched grass that had never known his steps. The wind didn't sound like it did back home. Even the silence was different, not heavy, not hollow. Free. And that's when he realized. He had never really been trapped. He had just never questioned the comfort. Because it didn't hurt. Because it didn't demand. Because it pretended to be peace. And now that he had taken even one step beyond it, the difference was undeniable. The cage had never locked, but it had convinced him to stay. Shiro didn't run back to the village. He didn't shout. He didn't even tell anyone what he had found. He simply returned the next day, and the day after that. Each time the fence felt smaller, the field felt wider, and he felt lighter. He hadn't escaped. He had awakened. Because freedom doesn't always begin with breaking chains. Sometimes it begins with seeing them. What part of your life feels peaceful, but might really be a cage you've never questioned?